Hi, I'm Rob from Belgium, and in this short clip we'll be talking about new developments and how to bring artificial intelligence into the classroom. First up, we'll be combining artificial intelligence with physical education. What we'll be doing, we'll be combining a class in physical education with a class in coding. We'll be using an analysis or performing an analysis of form and technique using a smart algorithm or a pre-trained AI model. How do we approach this subject? We'll be using a photo the students take in PE class. We'll be using a pre-trained model in my classroom, computer sciences. The AI model will be able to detect points of interest on the model or on the student will take a picture of. And then, using Python code, we can enumerate those points of interest, mark them up, mark a particular point of interest, for example. It's possible to draw lines. You can see like a stick figure being created, and then we can modify the RGB colors to mark which parts of the form or which parts of the technique are being done properly and which stuff is done wrong. So as a student, you'll be using an AI technique, modifying bits using Python code, and using this combined with your PE knowledge to give grounded feedback to a co-student. What are the requirements? Very basic. You'll be using a computer, a webcam, a smartphone to take the picture, internet connection, and basic understanding of Python code. Everybody can do this. You don't need a very big or heavy or strong hardware spec computer to perform this task. You'll also be needing a Google or Gmail account to use the notebook in question. A second project we have done last couple of weeks. We already did this one. This is how to bring Tacitus to life, combining ancient Latin with deepfake technology, demonstrating to students what are the harms, dangers, and the potential of this technology, and using this in a pronunciation exercise of ancient Latin. So it's possible for students to talk in Latin and have other teacher grade the talking part, the exercise. I'll be grading how they use or how they implement the deepfake Python code and what are their ethical answers to certain questions. We have modified this exercise on behalf of a school in Athens. The school in Athens doesn't use AI, doesn't use Latin. They use Greek, ancient Greek and New Greek, and they wanted to use this project to talk about Helen of Troy or Helen of Sparta, the play from Euripides from 412 BC. So we changed some parameters within the model. We chose new AI reconstructions. We have a reconstruction based on the burial mask of Agamemnon. Agamemnon is the brother to Menelaus. Menelaus is the husband of Helen of Troy, of Helen of Sparta. So we kind of made the connection that he must resemble his brother. The burial mask doesn't really belong to Agamemnon, but we made some loops, or we used some suspension of disbelief for this matter. And for Helen, we used a model they also use in Troy Total War, and they also used in current modern depictions of her. Well, where she is marked, or she bears the ritual markings of a priestess from the Mycenaean or Argolian society where she hails from. So that would be an approximation of how Helen of Troy, it's not clear if she really existed, but that's an approximation of how Helen would have looked like, based on historical data. The last project we'll be talking about very briefly is how to bring ChatGPT in the classroom. Very hot debated, or hot topic in our country, probably in yours too. What have we devised is a sort of a Turing test, where a Turing test is a philosophical test where one jury member tries to discriminate between a robot and a human in a chat conversation. We have given the students a writing assignment. They had to put their attention or mind text structure. They had to talk about merits and demerits of the subject matter. And I, as a teacher, took on the role as a detective. Some of my students were assigned the role of the good guys. They did the assignment part themselves. So I didn't know who was I was blind. I didn't know who was in the control group, who was in the intervention group. And the students used GPT or other ways to fake a test, or they were really good students who didn't use any of the technologies. And I went into this assignment trying to discriminate the good ones from the bad ones. We've learned that if you do that as a teacher, you don't really get that far. It takes a really lot of time, and you have really mixed results in finding the smoking gun, finding the evidence to say this student did this, or this student used GPT in a wrong way. So we took another course of action. We developed with the students a framework in how to use ChatGPT, when to use ChatGPT, agreements and guidelines, but also like a framework how to develop, how to create better inputs, and thus getting better results as an output out of the model. What teachers fear is that the students will do this. They just type in a text, write me an essay about medieval Europe, and the ChatGPT machine answers the test, and the student copy pastes the essay, hands it in, and gets points. What we are working towards is that the students use what they learn in language class, text structure, signal words, and what they learn in like history class, certain topics like the feudal world or how the monetary system got devised. And they ask GPT to use those structure bits from the language course and use the keywords they learn in history class. And then they let the machine generate a lot of outputs, iterate a lot of time. They pick the best one, so they have to put in the effort to write a good input, put in the effort to get the best output, rework the output, and then hand it in, and thus do a fact check on the robot itself. Thus, we move from a situation that was previously like this. The student wrote a very basic input, like one sentence. GPT did all the work, and the student did a little bit of work by uploading or handing it in. What we got, is a system where a student devises input 2.0, whereby they put effort into writing a cohesive, good prompt. They let GPT generate multiple outputs. The student has to discriminate between the good and the bad outputs, rewrite the stuff, reflect on what is being written, and then do the process over again. So it's not a linear process, it's a circular process. One of the exercises we do with this kind of technology is a creative assignment. It's AI languages and AI adventure, an elf, a wizard, and an AI enter a bar, and where the students have to create a world. They have to generate a location, they generate classes, generate characters, generate a story arc, and they talk with, or they do a play with a GPT machine, wherein the students do a bit of creative writing and the machine does a bit of creative writing. In the end result is a story that's being written with the students and the robot in co-creation. And at the end, we look back at the story. Did GPT or did the AI model satisfy our demands? Is it able to generate a story arc? Is the story pleasant to hear? Is the story pleasant to read? Does it miss certain bits? Because the students know about how the hero's journey works. When you have a hero, he has strengths, weaknesses, he has a challenge, he overcomes the challenge and eventually betters himself or herself to beat the final boss. Is an AI model able to generate a story arc like this, or does it keep on hallucinating and repeating itself? So it's a critical reflection about how the output of an AI model can be used in a creative writing assignment. We've written this out in a syllabus or in the teaching materials, and the syllabus is already counting 28 pages of information. So, in a nutshell, these are 3 AI projects we've been working here on in Belgium in our school.